Hello everyone, and welcome to our meditation. And it looks like some people are saying they still have trouble connecting. If those of you who have trouble connecting, if you could, couple of things, kind of refresh your, any kind of link any kind of page you use at IMC for connecting to the site. And if that doesn't work and you still have trouble with, if you know some link is in trouble, maybe you can mention that in the chat. I think someone will probably see the chat who knows about trying to update the technology parts of all this. So we'll look into it some more. So, so good morning. Here's an analogy that I'm fond of, and it can be done in different ways, but the way I'd like to do it is to imagine maybe a cold place, or if you are living in a very hot place, maybe that's fine to have a hot place. But in the cold place, to imagine a small heater placed in the middle of a room. In a hot place, maybe an air conditioner. And that little heater works hard, and when you turn it on, the immediate space around the heater warms up, or the immediate space around the air conditioner cools down. And then as it keeps working, slowly the temperature changes, going outwards. It gets warmer and warmer. The whole room gets warm. The whole room gets cool. And if it goes on long enough, maybe the warmth of that coolness spreads out to other rooms in the house. Maybe it takes a while, but eventually it spreads out. But it begins first close in to where it's closest to. So in the same way, when we practice mindfulness, with the classic instructions to really begin here with ourselves, in an embodied way, with the body, with breathing, with our own direct experience, it's a little bit like there's awareness is within us. And that awareness lights up or warms up, refreshes, and meets what is closest to it, which is ourselves. And in a sense, we begin filling ourselves with warmth, or filling ourselves with refreshing coolness. We become full in a certain wonderful way. We feel connected to ourselves. We fill ourselves out. And as that get fuller with attention, with presence, when we become more embodied and connected to ourselves, then the awareness has a wonderful way in which it naturally spreads out into the environment. And first it contacts what is close by. Maybe the people and objects that we're engaged with and have some kind of direct contact with. And with time, it spreads further and further. But there's this radiance, or this kind of flow outward. And when we come to meditate every morning, I think of it as we get to start all over. It's kind of opportunity for fresh start. It's because the mind is often preoccupied by things, the past and future, what's happening in our lives. It's maybe a little hard to appreciate how a morning meditation, daily meditation, can be an opportunity for completely fresh start. Kind of like you've been forgiven everything. You can put down everything, every burden, every responsibility, forgive yourself for every transgression, and start over again in a certain kind of way. And we start over again here, turning on the heater inside, turning on the air conditioner, turning on the flow of the classic language is more like a flow of water in an spring in an underwater lake, kind of turning it on, and let yourself become full with awareness. Let awareness take in and make contact with all the parts of who you are here and now, so that becomes a foundation where awareness can now, with this foundation, be ready for the world itself. And then as you get ready for the world and go out into the world, then some of the issues of your life can return and be addressed in a much better way. But thinking of meditation as a kind of time to put everything down so you can start over. And doesn't mean the feelings, emotions, concerns disappear, but we start over by connecting to what's happening here and now in our body, in our breathing. And then start filling ourselves with making contact and awareness and presence with all of it. And out it goes. So to begin with a posture. And maybe think of the posture as a posture of starting over. A posture of almost like a ritual of establishing yourself here and now, in this place, at this time, as if you can start over with no past and no future to be concerned with for now. And then gently closing your eyes, and then to take a few long, slow, deep breaths to continue this ritual of letting go of past and future, letting go of concerns, thoughts the best you can, and reestablishing yourself here. Letting go on the exhale. Establishing yourself here on the inhale. And then to let your breathing return to normal. And continuing this movement towards letting go and a kind of forgiveness and starting over with a normal breath as you exhale. Scan through your body and find places you can relax, soften. And softening your thinking mind. Relax the tension and pressure to think. Maybe there's a way of gently quieting the thinking mind. Not taking it as given. That you have to think in the intensity by which you're thinking. You can quiet and slow down your thoughts. And direct your thoughts to being here in the body with your breathing. Direct your thoughts to be interested in your direct embodied experience in meditation. if you're following the rising and settling of breathing, the inhales and exhales, maybe the place in your body where the inhale begins, the first sensations in the torso of beginning to breathe in, that's where the heater or the air conditioner begins radiating. And as the inhale grows, awareness spreads through the torso. As the chest expands, the rib cages stretch, the belly expands. Let your awareness spread through your body, through your heart, through your mind, as if you have a fresh beginning. Meeting everything here in yourself with a freshness, a newness, a curiosity, almost as if you have no past and no future, just this. And past and future can return later. In meditation, there's nothing to solve or figure out. Instead, we bring awareness to whatever's happening, as if we're filling ourselves with awareness, becoming embodied as a foundation for being with whatever is challenging, whatever is happening in the present moment. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, to imagine that your awareness that begins with you, because that's where all your senses are, the sense of hearing and seeing, touching, smelling. That all the sense doors are here in this body, feeling your body itself from the inside out. And that this awareness kind of, in a way, radiates out as it hears the world around you, as it sees the world around you, smells, as it considers and thinks about the world around you. And as you breathe in and out, spreading your awareness out into the world as if it can touch the whole world. And with whatever sense of calm or well-being or presence, whatever kindness or care or compassion that you find within, let that also spread out into the world with the idea that it would be marvelous, wonderful for all beings to have a deep connection to themselves, to the world, that is such a way that it provides them a source of happiness and well-being and safety. May it be that this practice that we do, may it be the way that we live our lives, in known and unknown ways, in intentional and unintentional ways, may it be for the welfare and happiness of everyone. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. And may we support this possibility. Thank you. I'll be right back. I think I have to push a button on a different machine. Nope, now it worked. So, hello and welcome to this fourth talk about compassionate action. And it's maybe worth repeating that this talks about compassionate action are building on a whole series of talks from before that focused on the role of developing awareness as a foundation for compassion and action, developing attunement with others and ourselves as a foundation for compassion, cultivating appreciation of others, a deep respect, also as a foundation for compassionate action, to cultivate the appropriate aspiration, a wish, as part of compassionate action. And with all that, we're ready to act compassionately. And so we don't want to be impulsive in the compassionate action, or unconsidered, or necessarily think just because we identify something like compassion or desire to help people or to stop suffering, that it's wisely considered. To consider wisely is an important part of the Buddhist practice. To consider that profoundly, to have a profound consideration, which means to stop and feel and have access to some sense of a profound source within. Take the time. What does the depths of your being say, or how does that inform you, or how does that help you understand the situation? And I like this expression, depth of your being. Some people might say whatever is heartfelt, but even the heart might not be the fullest or the wisest place from which to act in the world, but to really take time to come from some place deep within. And the deepest place, maybe, is a place where we don't have divisions for our care. We're not partial. We don't have distinctions between those people deserving our care and compassion and those who don't. The deepest place inside has quieted this divisive mind that many of us can live in, where it's partial, it's preferential, it's some people are excluded from our care because we don't think they deserve it or something. But in the depth of our being, it's possible to care, to be concerned with the welfare of everyone. And the Buddha refers to this as being concerned for the welfare of the whole world. He talked about being concerned for the welfare of oneself, concerned for the welfare of others, concerned for the welfare of self and others, and which is what we've talked about the first 3 days this week. And then he, in addition to that, talked about being concerned for the welfare of the whole world. And certainly the whole world is a big task to consider the welfare of everyone. But to let the awareness, the care, the compassion, the compassionate concern, have no divisions, have no us versus them, who justifies our compassion, who doesn't. That's what I understand the whole world means. There's no separation. So certainly we probably care for the people close to us because they're close to us. We see them, we know them. We don't have to go out there now and donate to every nonprofit that is doing good work throughout the whole world. But there's no division, no separation of our care. And this is phenomenally important, that no one's cast away from our hearts. That when we engage in this complicated life, complicated interpersonal life, that we're concerned about what's best for everyone concerned. And this was a very important approach that I took when I was the chair of an ethics committee, and had to deal with lots of conflict and sometimes with transgressions and harms that were done between people. And I would talk to everyone carefully and tell them that my concern was to search for what's for the welfare and for the good of everyone concerned. It was a little bit hard for some people to appreciate when they felt that other people deserved punishment or deserved something terrible. And certainly some kind of serious consequences sometimes are needed. But to understand what how those consequences work for the welfare of everyone, for the good of everyone. So it isn't just punitive and that's the end of it. It's, yes, there has to be consequences, there has to be accountability, there has to be something has to change. But here is why it's helpful for you. Here's why it's good for you. Here's why you need to do this. It gives you an opportunity to grow, to change, to come to terms, all kinds of things. And generally I found that everyone involved in these conflicts resolutions that I was involved in came to appreciate that we're looking for the greater good for everyone. And it didn't mean that it was compromising the good for someone who needed more something. It was really looking for the how to benefit everyone, where it's not a win-lose situation. And to do this, it takes a lot more attention, a lot more reflection and thinking, and getting a sense of the whole picture and everyone involved, and the quick decision that this is wrong and you're bad and we're cutting you out, or we're somehow casting you from our heart, or treating you kind of in a punitive way or something. That does not take into account the humanity of everyone involved, the fullness of their heart, their minds, their psychology, and what the impact of everything will be. But just take time to be in conversation with people, find out what's going on for them, and what really in a deep way is their need, and so they can really grow and develop and become better people. That was my task when I dealt with these ethic challenges. And I think people came to appreciate it a lot. And even people who were hurt or who felt like they were wronged in the conflict they were in, I think they came out as better people because they understood that they were being taken care of well, their situation was cared for, and the proper resolution was made, but that the welfare of everyone involved was taken into account. And sometimes everyone is not necessarily the parties and only the parties in a conflict, but also involves the people around it who know about it and are indirectly involved or connected to the parties involved. So how do we care for everyone involved? So I learned a lot about this in doing these conflict mediations and issues that for many years I was doing. But also I think it's a natural byproduct of a liberated heart, a mind that is liberated from divisiveness, liberated from attachment to it has to be one way, or attachment to oneself, or attachment to one's family, or one's tribe, or whatever it might be. And so when we're involved in compassionate action in the world, to be considered about it, who benefits from this? And is there anybody who is harmed by this? Are we leaving someone out of the picture? Are we focusing too much on maybe the person who is suffering the most, and forgetting there's more people involved in the ecology and the community that's related to all this? And how is it that we can take into account the whole world, everyone involved, and not just self, not just the other, in some very deep personal way, but for a whole community? And that community could be a family, it could be a place of work, it could be a sangha, a spiritual community we're in, it could be a neighborhood, it could be, where that whole is a, it varies from time to time. But I see it in the world of politics, that the divisions are so strong that so many times the other people are cast from our hearts. And we don't ask, the question, what would be best here for everyone? How do we find a way? And the difficult thing about considering what's the welfare for everyone, no matter how it is, it actually takes time. The conflict resolution work that I did was not a time-efficient process. It actually took a lot of conversations. And I think not a few people who tried to be involved in similar conflict resolutions tried to do shortcuts. And I saw that whenever shortcuts were done, often the conflict resolution didn't work out very well. And so it might take a long time to find what's best for everyone involved. But the other thing I learned through doing this, while it might take a lot of time to do so, that it actually saved a lot of time in the future. When these conflict resolution, when hurt, when problems between people, when compassion is not all-encompassing in its scope, so many times the amount of repair work that had to be done later was much greater than all the inefficient time taken to resolve it well the first time. So it might seem inefficient and seem frustrating to stop and consider the welfare of all and do the consideration, be in the conversations to understand the situation better, to do the creative thinking, to kind of consider how to do this so it benefits everyone. And it makes it much more efficient or easier or more time-saving in the future as we go along. And so I don't know, what's coming to mind right now is a very simple example. This doesn't involve, conflict resolution. It could be that someone is ill, and it's nice to bring them dinner or some food. And it would seem like just bringing them food is a good thing. But what's for the bigger picture, the welfare of all? Well, maybe make enough food for their caretakers. Maybe there's people, paid caretakers, who are caring for them, who are often neglected, often not seen, and often ignored from, in the close, relationships that, we have. But maybe, make enough for them as well. Maybe for their family. Maybe there's more people, and there might not be so much extra work to make a bigger meal that can be then shared more widely. And that little bit more work to make more might actually create a much better world that who knows what benefits come into the future that are unseen. And so just a small example, but there's many examples of this. And so compassionate action, not a rush to be compassionate, to act compassionately, not narrow the focus to only the person who's suffering or challenged, but how to kind of take a deep breath and relax and open to the situation more fully. Take the time and reflect. What really brings welfare for this person? What do they really need? How do I do this for my own sakes, so I'm nourished and become a better person? How do we do this so that it takes into account the relationship between us, self and others? And how do we do this that it really takes into account a wider scope of a community, the whole world, if you will? And if you protest that this is too much work, I'd like to emphasize again that I think that in the bigger picture, it makes life much easier. And that's how, in a way, it has the welfare for all concerned, including oneself, because of how we benefit in return. So in that process, I hope that compassionate action helps you become happier, more contented, more nourished, more inspired in a wonderful way. May it lead to your happiness and freedom. So thank you, and we will continue this topic of compassionate action one more day tomorrow, and I look forward to it. Thank you.